Jake Stuart with the National Sports Media Association, and today we are joined by Nebraska Sportscaster of the Year for the year of 2021, Chris Schmidt. Chris, thank you so much for being here.
Jake, thanks for the time. Nice to meet you.
Chris, these days you spend your time on Hail Varsity Network and in KLMS Radio. Can you talk about what first brought you into the industry, though?
I can. I think about where I was at the University of Nebraska, and I was a business major, right? And I said, okay, that makes sense. My dad's a small business owner. Maybe this is what would make sense for me, or could he kind of be in my wheelhouse? And quite honestly, I just got my butt handed to me in math classes and in all the economics courses. I passed them, but it wasn't easy and it wasn't fun. And I've grown up, as you can imagine, living and being a native Nebraskan with sports all around me, specifically with Nebraska football and Nebraska basketball, Nebraska baseball. So that was a pretty big part of our family life, going to Nebraska athletic events. And my dad just said, you know what, why don't you do something and get into sports broadcasting? And that's really where it stemmed from. Transferred schools from the business college at Nebraska to the broadcasting college. And I was able to get connected with some incredible people through the university. And that's what shifted it. Just, what are you going to do the next 40 years? Are you going to hate your job, or do you want to love your job? And I thought, you know what, sports has always been fun. It's been entertaining, and it's been a lot of passion involved with it. So let's go that direction career-wise. And that was the advice my father gave me.
And Chris, for our listeners that don't know the Cornhuskers as much, can you talk about the market, the college market out there, and just how big it is?
Well, think about your favorite pro sports team, right? Some of you might be Yankees fans. Some of you love Carolina Panthers. Maybe you're into the Dolphins or Chiefs or New England. You know, pick your pro franchise, hoops, football, baseball, whatever. You don't have that in Nebraska. You have a minor league team up the road in Omaha, but really Nebraska is the state's pro team, be it basketball or football. Now you have Creighton and Nebraska, of course, for college basketball, but football drives the bus in the state. Football drives the bus in the two major metro regions, Omaha and Lincoln. And the whole state, which is just shy of 2 million for total population, is all in on Nebraska football. You live and die with how the team does. So that is the neighborhood you're in the state of Nebraska, with who you root for, who you grew up watching, and who you cheer for. At least in my era. Now it's a little different with my son. He's 15. He loves going to Nebraska games, but he didn't live and die by it like I did growing up when I was his age.
Now, Chris, this is your first award from the National Sports Media Association. But what does it mean to you?
It means a ton. It is validation. Not that you need a pat on the back or an award, but it's so really humbling. It's incredible to be honored. And what is special to me is the list of Nebraska broadcasters that have received this. The Bill Dolmans, the Jim Roses, the Gary Sharps, the Kevin Kuglers, the Kevin Suitses. I mean, just some incredible talent in our region that have gotten this. And to be, part of that is incredible. It's also special to me just from a family standpoint. I've mentioned my father before. Dad passed away. It'll be 2 years in September, but he was there for me every step of the way, again, with the advice to try sports, but also the payoff, right? The support, the love, the funding, quite honestly, to keep after it. And that's who I'm dedicating this to. And that's what's so special to me. Some family members, a relative, Dean Schmidt, also, who recently passed. Both those guys, I love them dearly and I miss them, but they were really instrumental in supporting me doing this. So that's a big part of what makes me smile about getting this, not only the achievement and the acknowledgement, but kind of doing it for them, so to speak.
You mentioned some of the bigger names when it comes to Nebraska sports. who were some of the sportscasters that you looked up to when you first got into the industry? Maybe aside from some of those names, or including some.
Well, the guys I've mentioned, I've all had a chance to either work with or work for. So I've had a long list of incredible mentors that showed you and told you how to do things the right way. And there's a standard that they set, and not only on top of their talent, but their work ethic matched their talent. So that was kind of laid the groundwork for me. As far as national broadcasters, I loved listening to radio as a kid, and I did that in a rural area when I'd go visit my grandparents. I loved listening to play-by-play. So, I look at, Denny Matthews for the Kansas City Royals. Always love listening to baseball. But the Monday night and the Westwood One broadcasts, I always just love, and I still do today. But Marv Albert, man, Marv doing either NBA, calling the Bulls championship games, or Bob Costas. Both those guys are incredible. Marv Albert doing football, I thought was incredible. And I know he doesn't do it anymore, but those are guys that have made an impression. I want to have my own style, but man, they are great leaders and examples of how to sound on a big time game. Kevin Kugler's incredible. So those are some of the names. Those are some of the guys that when I'm doing games, I don't want to mimic, obviously, but the way they do a ball game is the way it needs to be done.
Right. You're sure right. Now, Chris, I want to ask you too, going back in Nebraska sports, is a long list of players and games, very well known. I'm thinking back in the day when my dad went to CU Boulder, a big rivalry there. I want to ask you, Chris, what for you, what is a big event or a big story that you're able to cover, one of your favorites over the days that you can share to our listeners?
Well, some of the bigger games, we do a lot of home and away broadcasts as far as pregame shows. We don't have the media rights to Nebraska, but we cover the football team. So you said your dad was CU, Colorado. I mean, that's wheelhouse. And that was a fun trip a couple of years ago to Boulder to be able to broadcast live from Boulder for pre and post game, being able to be at the College World Series just on the doorstep and do some pregame shows before, Westwood One's coverage of the broadcast, and just being on site, being in Norman, Oklahoma was so much fun. 50th anniversary game of the century. Neither of us alive for that, but as sports nuts, you know about it, and to be there for that celebration last fall was incredible. So a lot of it stems being on site for some of the bowl games and championship events in the region is good. And just locally, I love doing high school football and basketball coverage, and being able to do those state championship games year after year has been a blessing. That's not a national stage, but locally it's an honor to be able to cover those.
Now, how much has your work, Chris, changed over the last couple of years with COVID, both in person and virtually?
It's different when it comes to being able to speak with players. It's been more in this Zoom setting or Zoom press conferences versus face-to-face. And, the University of Nebraska has done an amazing job for a lot of years with player access. So that was different. It was so weird being in the press box and spaced out from one another during games. And while Nebraska had cutouts in the stands, it wasn't the same. You didn't hear the roar. You didn't feel the emotion of a live event, even though a game, and it counted, was being played. So that's what was extremely different. The precautions were absolutely necessary, but also the waiting game with, all right, were you going to play? Weren't you going to play football, specifically in the Big Ten? So that was interesting to sort through, but we got through it, and a lot of us, battled through COVID and came out okay on the other end, and some of us, unfortunately didn't, and we think and pray for those and those loved ones who maybe are still battling or suffering from it or lost a loved one. So the world just stopped, and you had to adjust to it.
Well, the last question I want to ask you, Chris, and thank you so much for being here and for your time today. Is what advice do you have for our sportscasters just getting into the industry now?
Well, I look at this advice I got, and I started interning, I think at age 19 or 20 at a classic rock radio station. And you're doing it for free. You're getting up at 4:30 or 5 a.m. You just got to soak it up and absorb and listen and learn. And I tried to do that. And you don't know it all. And I sound like a real old guy saying that, but that's true. You just got to stay humble and patient. That's the hardest thing for all of us, isn't it? Just being patient with when your time comes, when you get an opportunity, and absolutely stay humble, but be willing to grind. We're doing overnight shift, and I don't know if they have those anymore, but be willing to do an overnight shift for $6 an hour. That's kind of how I started. And yeah, you can get frustrated, but sometimes you're not ready, and keep swinging away to get ready. It's about reps and getting better and having that passion. And then shut your eyes and imagine not doing this. Just try that exercise and see if you're okay with it. And if you're not, it's in your blood, and you got to keep finding a way to get the opportunity. But learn from others, be cordial, and it's great to be competitive, but it's really better to not be a backstabber. And I know it's a cutthroat industry as well, but I go with the you catch more flies with honey, and be sincere and pretty genuine to folks. I know that sounds idealistic, but that's the lessons I've learned along the way, is just be genuine and straight up to one another in the industry, and good things will happen, and just keep after it.
Chris, thank you so much for being here again, our 2021 Nebraska Sportscaster of the Year. Congratulations on your award, and hope to see you in Winston this summer.
Jake, I'll see you, and thanks for the time.